Former President Jacob Zuma's name appears in newly released documents by the United States Justice Department in its latest tranche of the Epstein Files in relation to a dinner hosted by Epstein, an Epstein associate, in fact, in London during a state visit back in 2010. The DOJ has published over 3 million additional pages in response to the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which was signed into law by President Trump in November last year. A series of emails found in the massive tranche of documents makes reference to a dinner arranged at London's Ritz Hotel on the 5th of March 2010, while Zuma was on official business in the country. The Jacob Zuma Foundation has now dismissed media reports on these revelations as speculative narrative building is what they called it, saying that it regards the matter as closed. SABC News correspondent Sherwin Bryce Pease has more now.
The correspondence related to the dinner with former President Zuma starts with an email from a person named Mark Lloyd, who appears in this Reddit post alongside Jeffrey Epstein, described in the post as a well-connected elite broker/fixer. Lloyd writes to Vera, a Russian model, on Thursday, March 4th, 2010, introducing himself as Epstein's friend and inviting her at short notice to a dinner at the Ritz Hotel in London the following night, Friday, March 5th. A response is seen from a name redacted, but assumed to be Vera, who accepts the invitation to the dinner, explaining that she's from Russia and has lived in London for 2 years. She asks if it would be a black tie event and whether a sleeveless cocktail dress would be okay to wear. Epstein then writes to Peter Mandelson on Friday, March 5th, a former senior British diplomat who has since resigned from key positions due to his links to Epstein. Epstein writes that Mark Lloyd is having a dinner for Zuma at the Ritz and that he had invited a beautiful Rusina to attend, with her name redacted. Mandelson later responds with, "Lucky Vera." Another email from Epstein on Saturday, March 6th responds to an earlier email from a name redacted, who writes to Epstein saying, "I am summoned to see President Zuma tomorrow for a private meeting. Do we like South Africa?" Epstein responds, "Very much." You can ask him about the girl next to Mark Lloyd, her name redacted, with Epstein referring to her as his new future ex. On Saturday, March 6th, after the said dinner, Mark Lloyd then writes to Epstein saying that a person whose name is redacted was magnificent and a rare combination of elegance, charm and natural beauty, assuming again that this is a reference to Vera. Lloyd thanks Epstein for the introduction. He continues later that they found Jacob Zuma a much more impressive character than expected and that he displayed more gravitas and not the macho bluster he was generally portrayed as having in the tabloid press. Lloyd then asks Epstein, "When are you coming to London? Can you travel or are restrictions for that still in place?" That question suggests Epstein was not in London at the time of the Zuma dinner. Spokesperson for the Jacob Zuma Foundation sent us this voice note in relation to certain reportage on the dinner in London and told SABC News that he was not able to confirm that the dinner actually took place.
The so-called revelation published by Daily Maverick is a textbook example of agenda-driven journalism built on innuendo, third-party emails, and retrospective guilt by association. At no point does the article even allege, let alone establish, any unlawful or improper conduct by His Excellency President Zuma. The attempt to smear President Zuma by proximity to the unrelated crimes of a third party is unethical, irresponsible, and intellectually dishonest. The Jacob Zuma Foundation will not participate in speculative narrative building disguised as investigative journalism. The matter is closed.